What's up, y'all? My name is Doe, and today I'll be explaining what exotic break parts are in this game, which are used to make exotics, and I'll also be going over which behemoths I recommend to farm and the builds to use to farm them. My lord, that sentence took forever to say, just by the way. And real quick, before any of that happens, I have two things to say. The first thing is going to be, if you know of the exploits in Dauntless currently, please do not use them in a random public hunt. That's not cool, it's not fun, it's not cute. No one wants to see that. It's ruining people's experiences, so please do not do that. If you want to use it solo, use it at your own risk, or if you want to use it with your friends, then again, use it at your own risk. And now the second thing, on a much lighter note, if you want my Twitch flare, which a lot of folks have been asking for, it's my Dauntless partner flare, and to get it, the best way is to be a Twitch subscriber in any fashion. So Prime, Tier 1, Gifted, whatever. Just be a sub, join my Discord, and look at new sub info. It tells you everything else you need to know. Now, getting back on track, there will be 15 exotic break parts you can get while playing in Dauntless, and some of them have different requirements than others. But the common thing that have happened for any of these parts to drop is the behemoth you're fighting has to be a threat level 8 or higher. So basically, anything between level 8 and level 17, if you break a part during the conditions, it will have a chance to drop an exotic break part. And speaking of the chance part, there is no guarantee you get the part drop even if you fulfill the requirements. And to further explain what those requirements might be, let's go ahead and look at the neutral part drops first. The neutral exotic part drops will be the neutral skull gem, claw gem, tail gem, and the neutral fury tooth, fury plate, and fury tail. And for any part that has a gem no exist name, all that means is when combat starts, you have to break a certain part in under 2 minutes. And combat means first hit, so not when you land on an island, but more so whenever you or someone in your party hits the behemoth. That's when the timer starts. And for the skull gem, break the head. For the claw gem, break the limbs, and for the tail gem, break the tail. It's pretty self-explanatory for everything but claw gem. You know, skull gem is the skull, tail gem is the tail, so on and so forth. Now, moving on to the neutral fury stuff, this requires you to break off a part during Enrage. So anytime a threat level 8 or 8 plus behemoth enrages, that is your chance to get a break part. And the break parts follow the, similar schematic as the gems, and that is the fury tooth is from the head, the fury plate is from the limbs, and the fury tail is from the tail. So it's pretty straightforward, and moving past this, the behemoths I recommend farming to get these parts are going to be the Moonriver Shrike, Deadeye Closeshot, and Ragetail Gnasher. So those are the behemoths you can farm, but my top pick will be Ragetail Gnasher, just because I like the way this fight plays, and it's really easy to get all the parts, nothing's too hard to break, everything is easy to hit. For Shrike, hitting the tail is a nightmare. For Closeshot, hitting the tail is a nightmare. For Ragetail Gnasher, everything's easy to hit, aside from like the baby arms, but whatever, everything else is more important. And Deadeye Closeshot does give you 2 chances to get a skull gem, by just like breaking it. I just don't like that fight that much. That's the thing. I don't like fighting Closeshot that much, so I would much rather fight Ragetail Gnasher or Shrike over Closeshot personally. And because I really don't feel like making a part break build video, I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys the build I used to fight Ragetail Gnasher with. And this build let me get almost every single part break in under 2 minutes of combat, and my kill times in total were like 230 from the start of the hunt. So it's pretty quick kill times, and this build consists of a couple of different pieces. I'm using the Hellion Sword because best in slot. For my special, I have the Valiant Overdrive Reactive Hilt, which those will be my specials and my mod for every single sword in this video. And for my gear, I have the Hellion Helmet, Koshai Chest, Koshai Gloves, and Careback Feet. And the stats will be Aetheric Attunement, Evasive Fury, Overpower, Rage Hunter, and Sharpened, all at +6, with plus reconditioning and Predator. So the main point of this build is to have a pretty good amount of damage, some attack speed, and to have Sharpened. Sharpened is normally not a very good sell because all it gives you is part damage. This does nothing to kill Behemoth, it only breaks parts. So the whole point of this video is to break parts to get them really quickly, and using this build on Ragetail Gnasher isn't a big deal because it's not heroic, it doesn't have a lot of health, so you can get away with having Sharpen in this build. Anyway, the only advice I'd give is that if you dodge an attack, A, you get Evasive Fury, and B, you get the special from Sharpen, which is dodging an attack gives you 100% extra part break damage on your next hit. So my advice is if you dodge an attack, try and hit a part you haven't already broken, and try and hit a part in general, so you can actually get the damage in and break the parts quicker. And that's like the only advice. Other than that, just go ham, play the sword how you want to play it, and just hit the parts. Moving on to our next topic, we'll have the elemental stuff like Elemental Skull Gem, Claw Gem, Tail Gem, and Elemental Fury Tooth, Fury Plate, and Fury Tail. And to make this really easy, this is pretty much the carbon copy of the, the other stuff. It's just that you have to fight elemental behemoths. So like the Claw Gem is from the limbs, and the Fury Plate, which is the only thing that sounds a bit different, that is from the limbs as well. And to get these parts, it's pretty much the exact same process as if you're fighting a neutral behemoth, but in this case you have to fight an elemental behemoth, hence the elemental name. And the elemental behemoths I recommend fighting will be the Firebrand Charg, Razorwing Kaerbaek, Bloodfire Embermane, Koshai, Riftstalker, and Frostback Pangar. And you can fight pretty much any elemental behemoth that includes Resonant Shroud, but those behemoths are, you know, threat level 17, so there's really no point in fighting them if your whole goal is to farm these exotic part drops, or to try to. So try and make your life easier and farm the lowest variant you can, and to make your whole farming experience quicker. And speaking of quickly, I think the fastest behemoth to farm parts off of for elemental stuff will be the Firebrand Charg. And I think that because it has the easiest parts to hit, including its tail, its arms, its head. It does have these things called fire sacks, and I'm not positive if they drop parts or not. If they can drop exotic parts, I will probably ask, and I'll leave an answer in the bottom left corner of the screen. And to give you guys some, I guess, basic tips, there are some advantages of farming certain behemoths over others. So for Kaerbaek, it has a very weak face, so breaking it really quickly is pretty easy. Koshai can grow back its limbs, including its tail, so you want, you know, more tail gems or skull gems, or tail gems. You can cut off its tail twice. The first time you cut it off, it grows back. The second time you break it, and those can both drop parts. So it comes down to what you're really looking for. Personally, I like fighting behemoths that have a really well-rounded amount of part drops, which Charg has a very well-rounded part drop ratio, I guess, because all of its parts don't have like a ton of health and they're really easy to hit. So, you know, pick your own poison. And for the build I use to farm Charg, it's going to be a Boreas Sword build. And this build is pretty easy to make even early on, because everything you fight is pretty early in the game. So you have the Onus of Boreas, which is the Boreas Sword, and you have Valiant Overdrive and Reactive Hilt for the specializations or modifications. You have the Drask Helmet, the Hellion Chest, the Nasher Gloves, and the Kaerbaek Feet. And this will give you a +6 Aetheric Attunement, Conditioning, Molten, Rage Hunter, and Sharpened perks. For your other +3s, you have Overpower and Sturdy. And for the +6 conditioning, I didn't want this, but your other options are having either, you know, Tough as a +3, or I think Rage as a +3. And I don't really care for those, and I'd rather have Conditioning +6, because my other choices are not much better. So that's the build I used, and I was breaking parts off of Charg like crazy. I was just clapping those little lava lizard budget Charmander cheeks, you know what I'm saying? For the build I just showed you, it was helping me get, I think, a 230 on a Firebrand Charg, which is nothing to scoff at. Like, you're using a part break build, and you're breaking a ton of parts, and you're getting pretty, you know, respectable kill times in doing so. And it's letting you get the parts you want to get in the time frame you have to. Because remember, to get some parts, you have to break off some of the parts in under 2 minutes of when the fight starts. And that can be a pain, but this build's helping me break off pretty much every single part I want to in that time frame. Okay, so far I've explained 12 of the 15 part breaks for exotics you can get. Now it's time to explain the last 3, which are the Aetheric, or Aetheric, I don't know how you say the word. They're the Aetheric part breaks, which include the Crown Plate, Claw, and Tail. The Aetheric Crown Plate is a drop from breaking the head of an Aether Charged Behemoth that is, you know, threat level 8 or higher. The Claw is from the limbs, the Tail is from the tail. So pretty much fight a behemoth that has an Aether mode and break one of these parts during that mode. And behemoths that have an Aether mode are pretty much going to be every single elemental behemoth in the game. I don't think Boreas has one. I think that its Aether mode is actually the Ice Shield, which you can't really break anything off of during that mode, so good luck. But every behemoth I listed earlier are really good candidates for this. So Firebrand Charg, Razorwing Kaerbaek, Bloodfire Embermane, Koshai, Riftstalker, and Frostback Pangar all work. But the best behemoth I recommend to fight to get these part breaks are going to be from Riftstalker. You might hate this behemoth, but trust me, it is the best behemoth to get these kind of breaks from, because guess what? Riftstalker starts off the fight in Aether mode, and it remains in Aether mode for pretty much the entire fight, so that makes getting these parts a breeze to do. And if you want to build to fight Riftstalker with, I have just the thing for you, and there are some modifications you can make if you don't want to use Predator. But anyway, the build has the Valamir's Sword, and the modification will again be Valiant Overdrive with Reactive Hilt. For my gear, I'll have the Wed-Sat Helmet, the Hellion Chest, Hellion Gloves, and the Kaerbaek Feet. And by the way, every single build has the Drask Lantern. I didn't say that right now, but every build uses the Drask Lantern. It's the best lantern of the game for damage and for, you know, getting that electric shock off and the instant cast. Anyway, the perks of this build will be +6 Aether Hunter, Conduit, Molten, Overpower, and Predator, with a +3 Aetheric Attunement and Conditioning. And for anyone that doesn't like to use Predator, you can swap out those 2 technique slots on the head and the chest for either Cunning, Evasive Fury, or anything else you want to use. Adrenaline maybe, whatever. Go ham, do whatever you want to. Personally, I like Predator on this fight, even though it is kind of hard to maintain because Riftstalker is a pain to interrupt. By the way, it's trial and error to interrupt this boss. It is probably the hardest boss to interrupt in the game consistently. And it just takes a lot of practice. So if you don't feel comfortable interrupting Riftstalker, I would instead suggest fighting either Bloodfire Immermain, Rageman Karak, Koshai, Riftstalker, even Firebrand Charg. Pick your poison. Just know that those behemoths take a while to go Aether mode, where Riftstalker is in Aether mode at the very beginning of the fight, which is why it's a really good choice. And the cool part about fighting these behemoths that have a good Aether mode is that while you're breaking parts off in their Aether mode to get Aetheric parts, you can get elemental break parts at the same time, so where you're basically double dipping and getting a lot more value out of your time. And just in case you guys haven't been paying attention, to recap everything so far, if you want to get exotic break parts, you have to be fighting a threat level 8 or higher behemoth to have a chance of getting the part. If you want a gem type part, you have to break a part in under 2 minutes from the start of combat. If you want a fury part, you have to break off that part during Enrage, and that applies to either neutral or elemental behemoths. Now for Aetheric pieces or parts, you must break them during the Aether mode of a behemoth, which is basically indicated by a new effect. And to explain that, which I didn't really go over that well, some behemoths have, new effects. Shroud Riftstalker turn purple, Nezyga has really big quills during its Aether mode, and it does like a demon slide that's electric. Rezikiri, Karak, they turn, I guess, a glowy color. So I didn't explain that well, but they just have like these new effects. Charg has these flame jets. Immermain is like, I guess, more fiery, has like a glowing horn. So basically any behemoth that has like a new effect, like a new visual effect to itself, that is normally the Aether mode. And that is also the end of this video. If you guys liked it, please leave a like. It does help out the channel immensely. Liking it, commenting, and even sharing if you want to are amazing ways to support this channel, and I'm very grateful for everyone that does that. You can also check me out on Twitch if you want to, where I stream this game live pretty much every Wednesday through Saturday from 7 p.m. Central to 11 p.m. Central. And on stream, I pretty much just play a ton of weapons, I answer a ton of questions, and I'm just a very interactive streamer while I'm playing Dauntless. So if live streams are more your speed, that's where I'll be. And lastly, if you have your mom's credit card or your own and you want to support this channel, you can use code OhDough in the Epic Games Store or when purchasing things on the Dauntless store. That's a direct way to support this channel, and thank you to every single person that does that. I greatly appreciate any form of support, and thank y'all for just helping out the channel with whatever you do. Thank you so much for being here. But that is it for me, y'all. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.